Hello friends, grab your Bibles if you want to follow along. We're going to be reading out of the Proverbs, and we'll be starting with Proverbs chapter 8. So in chapter 7, we were listening about the immoral woman, and in chapter 8, we're going to hear about Lady Wisdom. Wisdom calls for a hearing. Listen as wisdom calls out. Hear as understanding raises her voice on the hilltop along the road. She takes her stand at the crossroads. By the gates at the entrance of the town, on the road leading in, she cries aloud. I call to you, to all of you. I raise my voice to all people. You simple people use good judgment. You foolish people show some understanding. Listen to me, for I have important things to tell you. Everything I say is right. For I speak the truth and detest every kind of deception. My advice is wholesome. There is nothing devious or crooked in it. My words are plain to anyone with understanding, clear to those with knowledge. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than gold, for wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. I, wisdom, live together with good judgment. I know where to discover knowledge and discernment. All who fear the Lord will hate evil. Therefore I hate pride and arrogance, corruption and perverse speech. Common sense and success belong to me. Insight and strength are mine. Because of me, kings reign and rulers make just decrees. Rulers lead with my help, and nobles make righteous judgments. I love all who love me. Those who search will surely find me. I have riches and honor, as well as enduring wealth and justice. My gifts are better than gold, even the purest gold. My wage is better than sterling silver. I walk in righteousness, in paths of justice. Those who love me inherit wealth. I will fill their treasuries. The Lord formed me from the beginning, before he created anything else. I was appointed in ages past, at the very first, before the earth began. I was born before the oceans were created, before the springs bubbled forth their waters. Before the mountains were formed, before the hills I was born. Before he had made the earth and fields, and the first handfuls of soil. I was there when he established the heavens, when he drew the horizon on the oceans. I was there when he set the clouds above, when he established springs deep in the earth. I was there when he set the limits of the seas, so they would not spread beyond their boundaries. And when he marked off the earth's foundations, I was the architect at his side. I was his constant delight, rejoicing always in his presence. And how happy I was in the world, with the world that he created. How I rejoiced with the human family. Also, my children, listen to me, for all who follow my ways are joyful. Listen to my instructions and be wise. Don't ignore it. Joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me just outside my home. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death. That's the end of Proverbs 8. And unlike the immoral woman, the wisdom woman is not hiding. She makes herself plain to see to everyone. There's no sneaking around or secrecy with the woman of wisdom. And I did read some commentary that people were comparing wisdom, which is in the Lord. The ultimate wisdom is fear of the Lord. Chapter 9. Wisdom has built her house. She has carved its 7 columns. She's prepared a great banquet, mixed the wines, and set the table. She set her servants to invite everyone to come. She calls out from the heights overlooking the city. Come in with me, she urges the simple. To those who lack good judgment, she says, come and eat my food, and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways behind and begin to live. Learn to use good judgment. Anyone who rebukes a mocker will get an insult in return. Anyone who corrects the wicked will get hurt. So don't bother correcting mockers. They will only hate you. But correct the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will be even wiser. Teach the righteous, and they will learn even more. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment. Wisdom will multiply your days and add years to your life. If you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you will be the one to suffer. The woman named Folly is brash. She is ignorant and doesn't know it. She sits in her doorway on the heights overlooking the city. She calls out to men going by who are minding their own business. Come in with me, she urges the simple. To those who lack good judgment, she says, stolen water is refreshing. Food eaten in secret tastes the best. Her guests are in the depths of the grave. And that end part is the woman named Folly, not the woman of wisdom. So those things that she says there at the end, that is no longer wisdom. That is folly. Ignorant and doesn't know. She sits in her doorway on the heights overlooking the city and calls by men that are minding their own business, come in with me. So this is not the woman to be hanging around with, nor the man if it's a man saying these types of things. You shouldn't be in secret, because the woman of wisdom makes herself plain to see for everyone. And when you ask the Lord for wisdom, he gives it without holding back. So it's never a bad thing to ask the Lord for wisdom. Chapter 10. The Proverbs of Solomon. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise child brings joy to a father. A foolish child brings grief to a mother. Tainted wealth has no lasting value, but right living can save your life. The Lord will not let the godly go hungry, but he refuses to satisfy the cravings of the wicked. Lazy people are soon poor. Hard workers get rich. A wise youth harvests in the summer, but one who sleeps during harvest is a disgrace. The godly are showered with blessings. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. We have happy memories of the godly, but the name of a wicked person rots away. The wise are glad to be instructed, but babbling fools fall flat on their faces. People with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will be exposed. People who wink at wrong cause trouble, but a bold reproof promotes peace. People who wink at wrong cause trouble, but a bold reproof promotes peace. The words of the godly are a life-giving fountain. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. Hatred stirs up quarrels, but love makes up for all offenses. Wise words come from the lips of people with understanding, but those lacking sense will be beaten with a rod. Wise people treasure knowledge, but the babbling of a fool invites disaster. The wealth of the rich is their fortress. The poverty of the poor is their destruction. The earnings of the godly enhance their lives, but evil people squander their money on sin. People who accept discipline are on the pathway to life, but those who ignore correction will go astray. Hiding hatred makes you a liar. Slandering others makes you a fool. Too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. The words of the godly are like sterling silver. The heart of a fool is worthless. The words of the godly encourage many, but fools are destroyed by the lack of common sense. The blessing of the Lord makes a person rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Doing wrong is fun for a fool, but living wisely brings pleasure to the sensible. The fears of the wicked will be fulfilled. The hopes of the godly will be granted. When the storms of life come, the wicked are whirled away, but the godly have a lasting foundation. Lazy people irritate their employers like vinegar to the teeth or smoke to the eyes. Fear of the Lord lengthens one's life, but the years of the wicked are cut short. The hopes of the godly result in happiness, but the expectations of the wicked come to nothing. The way of the Lord is a stronghold to those with integrity, but it destroys the wicked. The godly will never be disturbed, but the wicked will be removed from the land. The mouth of the godly person gives wise advice, but the tongue that deceives will be cut off. The lips of the godly speak helpful words, but the mouth of the wicked speaks perverse words. And that's the end of chapter 10. And I did say one of them twice. I'm so sorry. I think I did chapter 10, verse 10 twice. So maybe for some reason I thought that at least I needed to hear it twice. And I don't want to say too much, but something pretty profound happened to me at work today. I have coworkers that know my beliefs, and I get a lot of questions as a result. One of my coworkers today, she said that her father believed that her brother died young because he was living such a sinful life. And we started to talk about this because it's interesting to me that that was literally in the proverb that we just read, Proverbs 10. It mentions that. It mentions in other places too. I think the first time I remember it really profoundly being mentioned is in Genesis 6, when the men are just sleeping with whoever they want, and God says that he's going to cut their lives to 120 years. And I think, just like we learned when we were reading the book of Job, that God's ways are so much higher than our ways. His wisdom is so much more profound than we could ever even think or imagine. God doesn't make decisions necessarily black and white based off of if you're a sinner, you're going to die young. There are babies that are born stillbirths, and there are kids that die very, very young that might have been perfectly wonderful kids. The Proverbs are not necessarily perfect wisdom. They're principles for life. Yes, if you live a very sinful life, think about people that are doing drugs and stealing and doing all kinds of absolutely terrible things, sleeping around, whatever it is. We're all sinners in the eyes of God. There was one perfect that ever walked this planet, and I know I wasn't that person. Nobody is perfect, and we should be loving and gracious and kind to everybody. And it's a shame because this person's father is a God-fearing man and goes to church and has beliefs. And I was talking to her and she just started crying, and I'm almost going to cry just thinking about it. I think it's very important to read the Bible from cover to cover, because just say you open the Bible and that's what you read. And there are people that do that to find wisdom. They'll just open the Bible and point to a verse. And what if that's the one that you land on? And you have a friend or a family member that died young, and you just think that it was because they're a sinner. And to my understanding, the father actually said, if you stop going to church, you're going to die young like your brother. And she was just bawling. I don't blame her. We have to read the Bible cover to cover. And we know that God's ways are higher than our ways. We know that his understanding is so much more profound than we could ever dream of. So it's not that just because someone dies young that they were a terrible sinner. These proverbs are principles for life. They're not exactly cut and dry, black and white principles. They're generalities. If you typically live a pretty clean, upright, peaceful, loving life, you're more likely to live a long life, but there are definitely exceptions to that. I think one of the most wise principles that I know of is to love people. And it says that here as well. Love covers a multitude of sins. We should be kind and loving and encouraging to everybody, and be careful sharing words of wisdom, even for myself, because you never know how somebody's going to take that. And I know that my wisdom falls so short of the glory of God, but his words are perfect. But they should be read context, context, context. And the best context is to know as much of it as you can. Spend time with the word of God. Build your relationship with the Lord. And it's a very, very rewarding process. There's no better relationship to build than the one that you have with God. And that's just my 2 cents. I hope you agree. And even if you don't, come on back, and maybe over time, spending some time in the Word and just praying to God and loving each other, maybe you'll change your mind. In the meantime, I hope I see you again, and have a great night. Bye-bye.